Submit your question on CBC News' Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube pages. We can get things started with this question, and Lindsay Duncombe is at that protest outside the U.S. Supreme Court. So, Lindsay, let's first of all talk a little bit about the politics of this and the math of all this. Judging from the comments that we've heard so far from senators, how much impact do you think the FBI report is going to have on the vote to confirm Kavanaugh?
Well, given what we've heard from a couple of those key senators, Jeff Flake saying that he thought there was no new corroborative information, Susan Collins saying that the report was comprehensive, if those comments are translated into yes votes on Kavanaugh, then that means the Republicans have it. They have enough votes in order to move the nomination forward, probably as early as this weekend. Those comments, though, are not, they don't mean votes. We saw with last week Jeff Flake changing his mind at the last minute because of his desire for the process to work, as well as perhaps the influence of protesters. I think a lot of the assessment at this stage is that if Collins and Flake are indeed yes votes, as those comments indicate, then this is a done deal. But that's not something that the people who are here are necessarily willing to accept. Especially, there's 120 people here from Alaska, and Lisa Murkowski is also one of the senators who has not said how she would vote. A number of those people from Alaska are going from this protest to meet her in a downtown D.C. hotel and make their case. But Murkowski's vote won't matter if the other two are voting yes. So a lot of people doing the calculations, doing the math, but certainly that FBI report, it appears to have been enough to satisfy some of those key swing votes based on what we're hearing so far today.
And Lindsay, it's interesting because the Republicans seem to think that the report doesn't corroborate anything, that it was quite fulsome. The Democrats are saying quite the opposite. So how can people be looking at the same report and have such different opinions?
Well, I think that depends on what the goal of the report was in the first place. Was it just limited to the specific allegations from Christine Blasey Ford, or did it really want to go beyond that and look into other questions, such as did Kavanaugh perjure himself when he was asked specific questions about his drinking under oath while he was testifying? Is that something they should have looked into? But what it appears is that what the FBI did is they took direction from the Senate and perhaps the White House. They investigated the specific allegations that Blasey Ford made. They talked to people, including Mark Judge, the person that she says was in the room. And based on those conclusions, we can assume, based on what we've heard from Jeff Flake and others, that there was no additional information that the FBI found in those conversations, which interestingly is kind of what Rod Rosenstein told Coons and Flake when they called him up and said, hey, can you do this in a week? I think the different views on the report that we have are based on what the different political parties thought should be the goal of it. And a lot of Democrats wanted this report to look into specifically the idea of drinking and how the experiences of people who knew Brett Kavanaugh in high school stacked up against what he said while he was speaking in front of the committee. And they wanted to look into additional allegations, and they are not satisfied with where this report went. It is hard to be an American trying to make sense of all of this information, because on both sides, the political leaders on both parties are so clear in terms of their version of the events. And of course, the media through which many Americans are getting this information is also as polarized. So what you believe the truth to be of a report that we can't share with you because it's confidential largely depends on the source which you're getting that information from.
It's interesting, Lindsay, this isn't what Bach says on YouTube, and I'm paraphrasing what Bach is saying, but more or less, the Republicans seem to be accusing the Democrats of making this whole process political and partisan. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, it is something that we saw in the hearing. The questions related to, when Dianne Feinstein got the letter, which the Christine Blasey Ford asked to keep confidential. The question started, why didn't you bring that forward in a confidential setting? Even today on the floor of the Senate, Mitch McConnell said that, when Christine Blasey Ford wanted to speak to the committee, it appears as though she wasn't informed that they were willing to go to California, that didn't have to be in a public testimony. And I think the way that the Republicans are interpreting how the events have unfolded over the past couple of weeks is that this situation has been manipulated by Democrats who see the potential for political gain in riling up the people who are here right now, who are so angered by this and motivating them to try to derail this nomination because of what's at stake. This is a conservative justice that would put the court at a conservative majority, perhaps for generations, and that is why there is so much motivation on both sides, and why the Republicans are calling that it's all politics.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. We are out of time right now, but Lindsay is going to continue taking your questions live on CBC News social channels right now, and be sure to follow at CBC News on Instagram. The CBC's Ellen Morrow is taking over the account today and posting stories from the protests in Washington.
Okay, hello, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. My name is Lindsay Duncombe, and I am here at the protests in Washington. I hope you're able to hear me, and I'm just going to take this out of my ear because I'm hearing the News Network in my ear.
Kavanaugh says no.
Okay.
Kavanaugh says
So,
stop where you are because any
it's loud without that in my ear. We are here to answer your questions about the nomination. And our first question is from Elevator Guy. I don't know if that's your real name, but it's creative. He's on Twitter, and he's asking for a true picture of the size of the protest. Where I'm standing, Elevator Guy, it's really hard for me to get a sense of how many people. I don't want to give you an inaccurate count. I can tell you it's not the size of the Women's March where we were a couple of years ago. There are, hundreds for sure. The organizers promised thousands, but it's a large turnout. Ellen Morrow was here last week while the protests were happening. At the time of the testimony, she said that this protest is bigger today than it was then, and so certainly a sense of the momentum and the motivation in terms of where people are coming from. As I mentioned before, a lot of people who are here from those states that have the senators that are on the fence or inclined to be on the fence, including Maine, Alaska, and Arizona. I have a question from Oscar. It's also on Twitter.
We have to stand up for each other.
And he is saying that Trump should be quiet now. He's making himself look guilty too, and he seems to not be for women. And that certainly has been one of the perceptions that has been out there, Oscar, that Donald Trump is not for women. I think a lot of the people who are here protesting said the reason they felt motivated goes all the way back to when the Access Hollywood tape came out. But the thing that is really important to realize today is that this is not just motivating the Democrats and the women that are here. The whole process over confirming Kavanaugh has really motivated Republicans too. In fact, there was a whole bunch of polls out last night that are saying that the fears that Republicans had about enthusiasm, that a lot of the voters that came out and supported Trump in 2016 would not come out in these midterm elections because they didn't feel motivated based on all that's happening. Kavanaugh appears to have changed that. So when Donald Trump makes the comments that we've seen him make over the past couple of days, including at a rally where he did mock Christine Blasey Ford in the testimony that she gave, the details she didn't know, including the fact that he said that he thinks this is a scary time to be a young man in America. Those comments really do have an audience, and there are a lot of people that agree with that, and that direction from their president is something that would motivate them to vote. So Donald Trump would tell you he is totally supportive of women. People here would say that's the opposite. But there is if not a political calculation, a potential political benefit for the way Donald Trump has switched how he is handling this. I have a question from Jean-Yves Morin. He's on Facebook, and he's asking why people here are protesting. And Jean-Paul, I think that is for a number of reasons. The first reason is that they want to convince the senators who might not have decided how they're going to vote on this confirmation to vote no. And they're doing that by relating it specifically to the story of Christine Blasey Ford. This is also a protest that really has been emotional, because I think one of the things that we've seen happen over the past week especially is that women are feeling more comfortable to share their own stories of sexual assault as a result of the story that Christine Blasey Ford shared with the Senate Judiciary Committee. So this has been a session. Person after person has come up and said that they have experienced something similar and they haven't talked about it. And I think a third reason why people are protesting is a motivation. Christine Gillibrand, who is one of the senators here, who's also considered to be potentially a 2020 Democratic candidate for president, led a chant not long ago where she was saying, "Remember November," or November is coming, November is coming, because you cannot look at this whole crisis, this whole division, without trying to see what it will do in those key midterm elections, which are just 5 weeks away. And this has changed the dynamic in terms of motivating people on both sides.
She will not ever.
Bullwhip Johnson, again, is that your real name? Lots of creativity, Canada. Is asking, as it stands there, will there be enough votes to block Kavanaugh's nomination? We don't know for sure, because until someone says aye or no, we don't know. But based on the comments of Flake and Collins today, it appears as though, if you interpret them as meaning that they are satisfied with the FBI report, that the nomination is on track and will be confirmed. Now, that's what we were saying before Jeff Flake changed his mind in the Senate Judiciary Committee last week. So it's not over until it's over. And I think that's part of the motivation for a lot of the people who are here, especially from those states, to try to see if this movement couldn't make some of those senators change their mind. A lot of people are asking why this matters to Canadians, and I think that's a really, really important question. These are our neighbors, and you know, this is a really intense moment in American political history, and I think as people who, as we've talked about over the last couple of days, you know, share so much trade, share so much culture, that it's important for us to watch and understand what is happening here. I don't think that it should necessarily be at the expense of what's happening in Canada, but there's also a real cultural moment here as well. That definitely the United States and Canada are very different, but the way that these stories of sexual assault are being shared and are stirring up emotions in people doesn't end at the border. So if we were just sitting here talking about, you know, an everyday Supreme Court nomination that Republicans and Democrats were fighting about, I'd say, you know what, it's time to talk about the dairy industry, let's move on. But this is bigger than that. It is a cultural moment that is kind of ripping this country apart. And I think as neighbors and as friends with so much that is shared, we should understand it and talk about what it means for our own country at home. That's what I think, anyway.
This is the person who has nominated Judge Kavanaugh. This is the person who has hamstrung an investigation.
Another question here is RA on YouTube. He's saying, who are these protesters? And there are a lot of different people that are here. One of the criticisms from Republicans is that the protesters are political, and that's true. This protest was organized by the people who organized the Women's March. Planned Parenthood was part of the organizers. The people that are associated with the Super PAC that supports Democrats. This is a political event, and it is, largely with supporters of the Democratic Party. So that's part of it. A lot of union people are here, a lot of people who are associated with the Democratic Party. So Republicans aren't wrong when they say that there is political motivation behind this. And there are also a lot of people who just are regular folks who are motivated by the moment and by the story to come and be part of this and perhaps influence the senators and the discussion.
March Youth Empower program, because we are not a march. We are
San Diego
not
on YouTube.
These young people. So
again, is that your name, San Diego?
No relation to Shauna Thomas.
I could say something about Anchorman there, but that's probably not good.
Right now. You ready?
Anyway, San Diego is asking what this means for the midterms. You know, we are just still figuring that out, because if you had asked me 2 days ago, I would have said this means that Democrats are motivated for the midterms and that it will be part of a potential wave of people taking the House, maybe even the Senate. But the polling is totally different than that, and I would have been completely wrong, because polling out in the last couple of days suggests that this is really a motivator. The whole idea that Kavanaugh is under attack is a motivator for Republican voters, and that all of a sudden they're going to come out, and that makes a big difference when it comes to the Senate races. Just before we went on the air, Heidi Heidkamp from North Dakota said that she is going to vote no on Kavanaugh. And that's a big deal, because she is in a tough race that looks like it's widening, that she may have lost that already. And a lot of the analysis was, you know, the only way for her to try to get some of those North Dakotans who are definite Trump supporters to go onto her side would be to confirm this nomination. She has made a call that she's going to vote against this nomination, and there's a lot of thought that that means it could cost her her seat, and that means it would cost Democrats a seat. The Democrats are in a really tough position in the Senate this go around. They are defending tough seats that does not line up in their favor, and if this does motivate Republicans, then any hopes they have of flipping both houses will be tougher to achieve. But that said, those midterms elections are 5 weeks away, and that is really the extent of. We don't know what that will be. This is supposed to be something that has really got a lot of celebrities here, and they are. We are expecting perhaps some surprise guests. A number of celebrities such as Alicia Keys, Michael Stipe from REM have said that they would be part of this, so we're keeping our eye open for that. I have another question here from Bernadette Lynch, and I think this will be our final question, because I have to go talk to Andrew on News Network. And Bernadette asks, when do we find out about the final decision on the Kavanaugh appointment? And that will be in the next couple of days. The vote that's happening tomorrow, Bernadette, is a procedural vote, and then after that there could potentially be a final vote over the weekend. There are time limits, you have to wait in between those votes. I'm not clear on the exact rules, but it would likely be Saturday or Sunday that we would have a final decision in this country, something that the people here are waiting for and people everywhere else are waiting for. Thank you very much for your patience, those of you who are tuning in and watching this story unfolds with us. I'm at the Supreme Court. My name is Lindsay Duncombe, and we are covering these protests. We're covering all the different sides of this in our coverage. Follow Ellen Morrow on Instagram. Watch Paul Hunter on The National. We'll have all the latest for you on all our platforms. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You are strong, and they are afraid of your power. Now, the instructions are, I need all of you to head towards the Hart Atrium. Now, you can go in through the Dirksen building, the Russell building, any building. But I need you to flood those